Hello everyone, Voodoo here. So there's been a lot of stuff that's happened the last week or so with the announcement of the next patch, Ghosts of Koresh. There's a lot of teasers that Blizzard has put in for a new Demon Hunter spec, a Void spec. In my last video where I went over everything, I talked about their teaser with the boss, but there's a lot more stuff there. And there are also some leaks, and the leaks are not real. I'm just gonna say that right now if you're watching this part. Leaks are not real. If you ever see a picture leak, it's almost assuredly fake. But we're gonna bust basically the most commonly seen one. There's been another one that was posted like today, but it's also fake. But that doesn't mean the spec is fake. So we're gonna go over the fake thing, talk about why it's fake, then go over the real stuff that's actually in the game and talk about why I think that means we're going to get a third spec probably midnight. So there you go. So like, comment, subscribe, and let's just get into it. All right, so first things first, this is the spec. Now I have a lot of tabs open. We're gonna go through everything. This is kind of like the Charlie Day meme where he puts things everywhere. So this is the leak, and this leak is so incredibly, very clearly fake to me for a multitude of reasons. So the very big one that is just not really like a, oh, it's bad for this reason, is that this spec is a two-handed spec for some reason, which is fine, I guess. But I'm pretty sure sword, by the way, would say two-handed sword, but I digress. So the thing with that is that doesn't really make sense for Demon Hunter in general, considering in both of them are one-handed dual wields. All of the Demon Hunters in game, for the most part, there are a few exceptions, are one-handed dual wields, and there are some examples of Demon Hunters in other lore. Hearthstone, which is non-canon, there's one Scythe Demon Hunter, and I believe in the book somebody uses a knife. But for the most part, 99% of Demon Hunters are one-handed agility users, and also these weapons exclude Warglaive, which just, it doesn't make sense. Warglaives are iconic to Demon Hunter's class in general. They're the only class that can use them. Illidan's whole thing with Warglaives, there's just no way in hell a spec of Demon Hunter is not going to have the ability to use Warglaives, especially because presumably they'd be getting Throw Glaive because it's a class ability, and it doesn't make sense to throw Glaive if you can't even use a Warglaive. So right away, that's a huge strike for me. There is also a lot of stuff here with AI generation. You can't really see too well on this image because this picture has been like posted and reposted so many times that this one's not like a great quality. But on here especially, you can kind of see in Forbidden, the text looks really weird. It was my best way to describe it. The kerning, so the space between letters and words, is just not consistent. It's kind of like wibbly wobbly. And if you look on this damage circle as well, you see that like it's uneven, right? Tank one, pretty circular all the way around with a thickness. Damage one over here, pretty circular as well. Kind of uneven on this one. So this is fake, but there's more reasons for that too. So another big one is that the art is just reused Arana Starseeker art from Hearthstone. This one specifically, this is the alternative Demon Hunter hero in Hearthstone. And this is just like a void shifted version where they added more color to the eyes. Really not that hard to do in AI. Like, sure, it could be a placeholder, but I just don't think they would do that. Other big thing too is that the Vengeance art is wrong. Now, it is possible they changed the art in game here. This is the current Vengeance art. It is possible like, hey, we'll change this because this looks kind of voidy. That's a pretty huge like reach in my opinion. I don't think they'd ever like remove something like that from the game when Vengeance has been using it for, I believe it'd be 4 years by the time Midnight comes out. So I don't really think there's much merit to doing that. Of course, they can be like, oh, you know, in this hypothetical spec we're adding, we hypothetically think that Vengeance's art is too voidy, so we're going to change it. But again, I just don't think that's likely. And the art used here is Metamorphosis, which is a card from Hearthstone. It's this one specifically. And again, that just because it's a Hearthstone art doesn't mean they can't use it. But I think honestly, for me, that's a pretty big negative. The sample abilities are reused assets from other specs in the game. This is Argus Scythe. This is Void Torrent turned sideways, which again doesn't exclude them. But you'd think for the big abilities, they'd have their own, and that would also mimic some of the icons we get in the boss fight, which we'll touch on later once I actually go over the real things. And the final thing, some of you are probably saying like, oh, but the background, that's like something to do with Midnight, something to do with Koresh. This was posted in the press release for the news drop. So you can just get this pretty easily. As soon as the news is announced, this art was available, which was way before this leak was first posted. So, you know, this is not real. If you see an image of someone doing this, claiming they have, you know, 0.2.5 PTR alpha or, you know, Midnight advanced alpha, they're lying to you. You know, like, take a second. I know the hype's real, but just check your sources, check everything. There's a lot of things that are just inconsistent or not great go into these leaks, and these leaks are not real. That does not mean, though, that the spec itself is not real. So we're gonna go over, there's like 4 or 5 things right now in the game itself, so not just some image someone posted somewhere, that does make me think we're actually going to get a 3rd spec. The first thing, obviously, is the Void Demon Hunter. We're on Wowhead here because I just didn't want to pull up PTR right now. I'm a little tired, I just got back from the trip. But the big thing is obviously the Void Demon Hunter. So in the raid, I don't know which boss this is. It's an optional boss, which is super weird. There's a Demon Hunter Council, Adaris Void something or other, Alyssa Dark Sorrow, and Velarin Blood Wrath. Now the thing with this is that one of them is Havoc. You can see here, this is the Havoc one. One of them is Vengeance right here, and then there's this Void guy. So if you watched my initial video, you could see pretty clearly the picture of all 3 of them. I'll probably throw it up if I have it. With one very clearly looking like Havoc, one very clearly looking like Vengeance, and the other one being some Void guy. And the thing with that is that this is true even. So Adaris Duskblaze is the Void guy. We'll talk about him after. Velarin Bloodwrath is the Havoc Demon Hunter looking one. The big thing here is that let's look at the abilities they get. The Hunt, Blade Dance, Eye Beam, and then Fell Blade, and then Fell Inferno looks like Immolation Aura, basically. And another fun thing, Weaken to Prey is the Sinful Brand icon, so jump scare there for all the viewers at home. So the Havoc Demon Hunter character in this boss fight gets a bunch of Havoc Demon Hunter abilities. The Vengeance one, Alyssa Dark Sorrow, Fracture, Shattered Soul, Frailty, Spirit Bomb, Soul Crush, Sigil of Chains, Immolation Aura. All of these things are abilities used by Vengeance Demon Hunters. Obviously, Immolation Aura used by all Demon Hunters. Frailty is the debuff that you put on targets from Shattered Soul. I believe Soul Crush is a talent, and obviously Spirit Bomb, Fracture abilities. So big thing there. In the intermission, the Havoc Demon Hunter uses Fell Rush. The Vengeance Demon Hunter uses Infernal Strike and Fell Devastation. So there's a lot of stuff here. What does the Void guy use? Well, he uses things like Devourer's Ire, which hurls orbs out. Consume, where he like drains essence of things. Unending Hunger, which might need nothing. Void Step, which seems really sick, teleporting around and doing stuff like that. Hungering Slash, Encroaching Oblivion, Eradicate. So there's a ton of abilities here that are like Void themed, and none of them are really shared with that leak that happened. I do believe Hungering Slash does maybe share. I closed it, but realistically speaking here, this Void guy is one of the largest, I think, benefits or largest positive pieces of information about what we're actually getting here. It actually does come with a Void Metamorphosis, which I forgot to pull up before I recorded, so I'm gonna go find that right now and I'll show you guys that. All right, so I'm back. This is the Void Metaform he uses in his intermission. It looks very cool. It is a Void recolor of the male Blood Elf. I don't know if Blood Elf and Night Elf have different forms, but the male Elf Void, like the male Elf meta, it is Void themed, which looks very sick. Obviously, it looks very cool. Even if this is just a glyph, which I don't think it is, I would be happy with getting this because this is sick. But I do think it's more than that. So that's the kind of the first thing, right? We have this huge boss. We'll get to some other things after. A boss with a ton of abilities with Void themed in a fight, in a raid that doesn't really make sense to have Demon Hunters. There's no Fel relation. There's no Demon relation. I think Dimensius might technically be a demon, but that's basically it. There's nothing else in this raid that really fits with Demon Hunters, right? It's all like Forge Weaver stuff. It's all like ethereals and arcane stuff and like mana essence things, and then like Dimensius. So it doesn't make a ton of sense why we'd have Demon Hunters here, unless they're trying to shoehorn something in there. Also, it's weird that it's optional. We haven't had an optional boss since like 12 years ago at this point. I don't remember the guy's name. The Butcher, I think it was, maybe. It was in one of the WoD raids. I believe this High Mall or Dire Mall or the Ogre place there. I don't remember. I didn't play WoD. I was 13 then. I don't know. Anyways, that's the boss. More stuff though. So next thing is a quest line, and shout out to Cloudy. Cloudy did help a lot with getting some of these images, so shout out to him. Appreciate you, guy. So this is the boss, actually. Adaris Duskblaze is the boss we fight in the raid, and you can actually find him in the zone just kind of fighting. Him and another person, Magister Umbric, actually has a quest for you that involves a Void Demon Hunter and a Void Elf. Leona specifically is the Void Elf. pretty much what's been happening here is that Magister Umbrit calls you over, and his apprentice has been researching and harvesting the power of the void, and has enlisted a demon hunter, Adaris, to see if the methods can work. And what they've done is that they've actually made a pact together where once Leona Darkstrider infuses the void into Adaris will share the secrets of the Illidari with the void elves. So you go on this quest chain of finding this guy. Veldoref now have entered into a pact to teach her the ways of the Illidari, and she conducts a ritual to infuse me with the powers of the void. To that end, she's retrieving an item of power I require, yada yada yada. So she's going to find this curmudgeon, whatever it's called, to put the void power into, and they have this pact to infuse him with void energy. So you go through this quest line and you do this. He has this whole thing where Illidan taught us that if we were to fight threats that acknowledge no limits, we must do the same. With his rage, he tamed the power of the fell, and so will I with the void. So he infuses himself with this void energy, and combines the strength of the Illidari and the Rendori secrets. So there's literally a quest chain in the game where this void elf and this demon hunter help each other to infuse the demon hunter with the void power, because he thinks that to tackle the threats we're getting, i.e. the void threats that are happening at midnight, we need to do the same thing we did when we fought the Burning Legion and infuse ourselves with the void to fight the void. Makes a ton of sense, really fits with demon hunter lore. This is a great way of expanding it outwards, because one of the problems with another demon hunter spec is that for a long time they're just like, there's no other lore for us to work with. Here we go, they're writing their own lore in a way that makes sense. This is how Illidan first became a demon hunter, because he used fell power to fight fell power. This is the same thing, using void power to fight void power. The quest goes on. He meets us in a cave, infuses himself, and then you get a little cutscene afterwards where we intended to infuse the void. He's strong, there are complications, partially successful, backlash to energy nearly brought the place down. He lives, pushing through a portal, and then we fight him in the raid. And then it goes on to say these interesting things here. So what of your experiments did you learn the secret of harnessing the void in this way? And then the person says, I'm getting closer. The Koreshi fragment is inert but intact. Given time or a better teacher, I can master these techniques, and yada yada yada. So realistically what they're saying here is that given more time or a better teacher, who I personally think is probably going to be Locust Walker, the main void ethereal helping us out, maybe something to do with the like Venari or some of the brokers, they might have some help here, but the people on the planet we're on right now, I'm assuming will help with this. So it might not be just void based, could be like ethereal based as well, but I think that's what they're getting at here, is that they're going to get closer and master these techniques, which means a few things. This could mean void elves for demon hunters, which is what I imagine. You can see that she actually has a glaive now. I don't have a better picture of her right now, but she actually does eat a demon soul, which makes her a demon hunter. That's how they're made, and is the first void elf one. I do believe they'll be opening up void elves for demon hunters, which means night elves, Nightborn probably will as well, just to keep things balanced. But I do also think this means that with the Koreshi fragment, void demon hunters are going to happen. So the quest chain's pretty huge. There's been some other stuff found inside the game files as well to kind of hint towards this. Okay, so the next big thing here is on the Wago tools site. So this can look at all the icons put in the game. If we search Demon Hunter, we can see a file called Interface Icons Inventory, or INV 112, which is 11.2, ability Demon Hunter Metamorphosis Void.blp. When we click on it, what we find is an icon for a void meta form. Now, you're probably saying, okay, this is probably just like the boss's ability. It's not. So one of the first things is that it's written the same way that the new icons for Demon Hunt, for the Hunt and Elysian Decree are. So just to show you the Hunt and obviously Elysian Decree right here. So it's written the exact same way, which makes me think that this is a player interface icon. But more so than that, these are how spell works. This is a bunch of spells for Muggsy, which means that it's not a spell that's being coded here, right? Spells that the bosses cast have spells, FX, Undermine Raid, yada yada yada. Here's Dimensius, by the way. So these are icons, but they have Raid Dimensius. This one here has Undermine Raid Muggsy, right? So if it's a raid icon or raid ability, the raid is included in the name. What we have here is none of that. We have Demon Hunter, which is a big thing there. So right off the bat, we know it's not a raid icon because the raid icons are written like this. Interface icons, Raid Dimensius, Gamma Burst. Ours is not written like that. There's no mention of raid, no mention of a boss, just Demon Hunter, which is big. And of course, it's not a spell because it doesn't follow the spell component. Further than that, it does have the way that other icons are written. So in this patch, Between the Eyes got a new animation, a new icon, I believe, as did something Restoration Druids had. I don't know what it is, but it follows the same convention. Interface icons, inv 11.12, the spec, class, the ability. And that's the same here, right? Interface icons, inv 11.2, ability, class, metamorphosis, void, BLP. So this is not just going to be a boss's ability, right? He does use a bunch of other boss themed ones, like void themed ones, ire, consume, void step, yada yada yada. But this icon specifically is a player icon. This is a player icon, which means that we are going to be getting something. Now, I do again think this points to a spec, but it could just be like a void skin for like meta, which I still think would be cool. It'd be disappointing considering what it could be, but I do think that this points towards a spec. So these are the big three pieces of kind of evidence we have. This is a lot more evidence than when we even had Og introduced. Og basically just had like a mention in game at some point in like one text, and then Sarkareth used one ability. We have a full void demon hunter boss. We have an entire quest chain dealing with it, with like a hint at the end that they're going to refine this and work on making it better. We have the Demon Hunter Void icon. And we have one more thing that's kind of iffy, but I did want to talk on it because it is something interesting that we found. And again, shout out to Cloudy. He really helped with all these pictures here. He's the one who found all these things. So big shout out to you, that guy. So the final thing here is this just text document I have. So Topple, who is one of the people who works on implementing Havoc and Vengeance, like ability to into SMC, he makes them work on raid bots, has found 2 spells in the code that are new and are just kind of floating, and these are Shattered Souls, which already exists for Havoc, and a new Consume Soul. So this could be nothing. This is the most in the air thing that has happened. What we have in the game here is a new Shattered Souls like spell and a new Consume Soul like spell. So there's a new way of getting souls, which obviously doesn't belong to Havoc because it just floats, and this doesn't belong to Vengeance because they don't have one. Then a new Consume Soul, which again doesn't belong to Havoc, doesn't involve to Vengeance. So this could be nothing. Again, this is the most kind of funky one, but there are 2 new spells in the data themselves that do revolve around souls and in ingesting souls, and souls is a class mechanic for Demon Hunter, which means that the new spec would presumably work with them somehow, and this is probably how. So again, this is the most out there one, but it does exist and it is a thing. That brings us kind of the wrap up here. So that's all the evidence we have, as well as all like the debunking of that one image, because it's annoying to me. I am a scientist. That's my actual job, is I'm a scientist. I work in a lab. I have published papers and stuff like that. So I really hate when misinformation gets spread around like this. So I did want to come out and just say this is fake because of all these reasons. Can I be proven wrong? 100%. And I actually think that the name Entropy might fit very well, but I don't think this is going to be real because of all these factors. It's very easy and very common at this time to build off this hype and make your own fake. It happens all the time. I just want people to be like wary of them. Don't believe all these images you see out there for people that are like just making them. There's a lot of ways of faking things in this game with AI these days, generative Photoshop, stuff like that. It can take someone 20 minutes to do it. So just like be cognizant and be vigilant. There's a lot of misinformation that can go around. But in this video, I presented all the stuff that's actually found in the game. So do I think we're getting a new spec? And honestly, I do believe we are getting a new spec. Now, I don't think it's coming 11.2. Do not get your hopes up for that. I think most likely this will be happening in midnight, because I do think it'll take some time for that Void Demon Hunter, the Void Elf, to learn how to control it. And I think it will happen in midnight and be like a huge selling feature for midnight, which is weird because it's just a spec, but a lot of people are excited for this because it is Demon Hunter's 3rd spec, which is like been a meme for so long. Now, it could happen sooner. It could happen in 0.2.5, 0.2.7. There's nothing saying it can't. I personally think we'll get it in midnight because it means we'll have a full alpha and beta cycle to test it, to tune it, to make sure it doesn't release in a state like Augmentation Evoker. I think they learned a lot when they released Aug, how when you do these huge specs like this, you want a lot of time and a lot of feedback to work on it. And a PTR cycle just generally doesn't really have that feedback. No one's actually testing things to a real level, especially when it's a 0.5 PTR. A lot of people don't even play PTR compared to like a beta or an alpha. And there's just much more time in a beta and alpha to work on this iterative feedback to get there. So I think it's midnight. Could be sooner, but probably midnight. Finally, I think it's going to be a melee spec. Focus around the Void, maybe incorporating some aspects of ethereals or brokers or something like that, depending on what actually helps that Void Demon Hunter, the Void Elf. Could just be Void itself, but I think probably they'll want to draw from some of the races we find on Koresh. Because I do believe when she speaks and she's like, oh, I need to find a better teacher, who else to do that but the ethereals and whatever the hell the brokers are, because they are beings of the void. They are ethereal beings who work with the void stuff all the time. And they are creatures of great knowledge and of like the arcane mystical things and of the void and stuff like that. So I think this will be a great teacher to help teach the void demon hunters how to consume the void, to fight the void, and might incorporate some elements of that into the spec. Could be wrong, 100% off base there. This is just me speculating at this point, but I think it's a melee spec. I don't think it's going to involve bows or something like that. That A, wouldn't really work in terms of it would just kill Havoc, and B, the guy in the game uses Warglaives. I think it would be weird for us to not use Warglaives, and I just don't think ranged has much standing in terms of Demon Hunter lore. I think it'd be pretty crazy. I think it'd be melee. I don't think it'll be a support spec. Again, I don't think that makes much sense. There's like a debuff. It could be some kind of like debuffy thing, but I think that'd be a pretty tough sell, and I think they kind of want to stay away from support specs for now. And again, Demon Hunter I just don't think is the place to do it. So I think it'll be a melee void slash potentially ethereal broker themed spec. Again, I don't think it'll be too much on that, mostly void, but we'll see depending on like how she's trained. I think it'll come out at midnight, and I do think it's happening. Could it not happen? 100%. I don't know anything. I'm just like you guys. This is all the information I have presented for you here. I don't know anything else, but it's possible more happens, more comes out. And of course, I'll keep you updated. So a little bit of a rambly video. Sorry. I don't know. There's a lot here, and I'm passionate about this. I've loved the idea of a new spec for a long time. So let me know what you think. Are we getting one? Am I off base? Do you think the picture's real? I know there's one guy who really thinks it's real that has like commented on my video about it. Shout out to you, guy. I hope you don't believe that anymore, but if you do, I tried. And yeah, drop your ideas below. What is the Void Demon Hunter spec gonna do? What is it gonna look like? Am I off base? Is it not happening? All that stuff. And like and subscribe while you're there. Let's push for 15,000, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace. A big thank you to everyone watching my videos, but especially to my channel members. Thank you, Alexander Trifunovic, Rukaza, Fear Redefined, Loose Change, Jorge Polanco, Matthew Barr, Zuligan, Chocobo Merc, Gabriel Correa, Matchman 133, and Falafadar Dark Terror. Thank you so much to everybody. If you want to join and support me in making videos, consider following the link below. I will be adding more perks to this over the summer as I get more time, including a log review, which isn't available right now. But again, I do appreciate everybody just supporting me and watching the videos. So I'll see you guys next time. Thank you. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Peace.